The 1 month milestone. My wife, a woman who usually never touched a drop of alcohol, shared a glass of high-proof bourbon with her assistant at our son's 1 month milestone party. She left me, her husband, standing alone in the cold. Her excuse? My stomach issues meant I couldn't drink, so her assistant, Liam, would have to step in and handle the celebratory shots for the guests on my behalf. By the time they reached their 99th toast together, working the room like a power couple, I stood up and announced our divorce in front of everyone. The room went dead silent. Then, Serena's hand whipped across my face, the slap echoing through the ballroom. I went through 3 years of agonizing IVF treatments to give you this son, Caleb, she hissed, her eyes welling with tears of indignation. And you want a divorce now, because I shared a drink with my assistant? Do you even have a soul? I nodded slowly, my face stinging. Yeah, just because of a drink. Caleb Sterling, have you lost your mind? Do you even realize what day it is? Serena's voice rose, trembling with rage. This is our son's celebration. I spent 3 years being a human pincushion just to give you an heir. She hiked up her designer top, right there in the ballroom, revealing a midriff covered in a map of faded needle marks and scars from the hormone injections. The guests gasped, their murmurs turning into a wave of pity for her. Look at all those marks. Serena went through hell, a woman whispered nearby. How could Caleb be so heartless on a day like this? Unbelievable, a man added. I remember he was the one with the fertility issues back then. She didn't leave him. She fought for that baby. Now that the kid is finally here, he wants to throw her away? That's cold-blooded. Liam Reed, her assistant, stepped forward, his face flushed with protective fury as he grabbed me by the collar. Serena went through literal torture for you. How can you stand there and talk about divorce? Are you even a man? I looked at his clenched fists and let out a cold, sharp laugh. Since you're so good at standing in for me during toasts, you can stand in for me with the wife and kid, too. Consider them yours. I shoved his hands off me and turned my icy gaze back to Serena. I want a divorce. You keep the kid. I'm out. The anger in the room reached a boiling point. My own mother sighed beside me, her face etched with disappointment. Caleb, what's wrong with you? We all saw how much you love Serena. You gave up your chance to study at Oxford to help her build this company. You drank yourself into the ER with stomach ulcers just to land her those first big contracts. That's how you got sick in the first place. She grabbed my hand, her voice pleading. Caleb, with your health the way it is, you weren't supposed to be able to have children. Serena fought for 3 years to give you a legacy. You have to have a conscience, son. Hearing my mother's defense, Serena collapsed into her arms, sobbing like her heart was breaking. Mom, I know Caleb is just jealous of Liam. He's doing this to get my attention. I can forgive him for being insecure. The guests, seeing my mother take her side, began a chorus of condemnation. Marriage isn't easy, especially with a woman as successful as Serena. You won't find another like her if you search the whole country. She didn't care that you were a blank shot, so why are you acting up? Just suck it up and apologize. Liam took the opportunity to drag me toward Serena. Caleb, if my presence is the problem, I'll resign. I'll leave right now. I just want you to be good to her. I looked at his performative martyrdom and sneered. Don't bother. The position of Serena Vance's husband is officially vacant. It's all yours. I looked Serena dead in the eye. I've already filed the papers. This is happening, whether you like it or not. And I turned to my mother. Mom, very soon you'll understand why. My mother went quiet, sensing something she couldn't explain. I turned to leave, but before I reached the exit, Liam blocked my path again. This is your son's party. You aren't leaving until you explain yourself. You can't just ruin her reputation and walk away. I laughed, a jagged, mocking sound, and kicked him square in the chest. Move. You're just an assistant. Since when did the help get to tell me where I can go? Liam crumpled to the floor, gasping for air. Serena rushed over, shielding him with her body. Caleb, if you have a problem, take it out on me. Liam was just trying to help us. Why would you hit him? I looked at the two of them, huddled together like a portrait of a family, and let out a huff. You know exactly why. I pushed past them and opened the door, only to be blocked by Serena's parents and her younger brother, Sean. Caleb, we know you're a good man, her father said, his voice heavy with feigned wisdom. You've never even raised your voice at her in all these years. Why blow everything up now? I'm done with her, I said simply. That's it. The words set Serena's mother off. She pointed a finger at me, screaming, You ungrateful brat. We never wanted her to marry a penniless kid from a farm town in the first place. Look at everything she's done for this family. She ruined her body with those hormones for you, she continued. And this is how you repay her? With a divorce decree. Sean, her brother, didn't bother with words. He swung a fist, catching me right in the jaw. You're just a glorified house husband. You really think you're someone. You're a useless loser who couldn't even get his wife pregnant, Sean spat. The only reason she stayed was out of pity. You think anyone else will want you? Everyone in Chicago knows you're a dud. You couldn't even get hired as an escort with that hardware. I touched my swelling cheek, but before I could speak, Serena grabbed her brother's arm. Stop it. Caleb is just emotional right now. He'll come to his senses once he cools down. The crowd was moved by her grace. They whispered about what a saint she was and what a monster I had become. Look at that. Even after everything, she's still protecting him. He's a pathetic dog. Behind them, the baby in the bassinet started wailing, the sound piercing the air like an accusation. Everyone expected me to fold, to crawl back. I didn't. I wiped the blood from my lip. I'm a monster. Fiend. But this divorce is happening today. I shoved my way through the doors and walked out of the hotel. Waiting at the curb was a black Maybach. I climbed in the back seat, where my private assistant handed me a folder. Mr. Sterling, here is your physical. I opened it. Under fertility status, it read, normal, high sperm count and motility. I tucked the report away and looked back at the glowing hotel tower with cold eyes. The board meeting is tomorrow. I want Serena Vance ruined by sunset. That night, I stayed at my estate in Lake Forest. Just as I was turning in, a text came from Serena. Caleb, I've supported you for years. Without me, you're nothing. I've frozen all your cards. Just come home, apologize, and I'll forget this ever happened. I looked at the screen and laughed before blocking her number. Then I took the secondary credit card she had given me, the one with a measly $1,000 monthly limit, and tossed it into the trash. For years, I had played the part of the supportive, humble husband. I had watched every penny, logging every receipt for her to audit, just to keep her ego fed while I secretly managed a multi-billion-dollar portfolio through a trust in my mother's name. The next morning, I went back to the house to pack the rest of my things. The house staff looked at me with pure disdain as I walked through the foyer. Look who's back, one whispered. All that drama yesterday, and he's already back with his tail between his legs. A man who can't provide an heir shouldn't have such a big mouth, another sneered. If I were Ms. Vance, I'd trade him in for a younger model who actually works. I ignored them and headed for the stairs, but Serena's voice stopped me. Shut up, all of you, she barked. No one talks about my husband that way. I turned to see her standing there, arm in arm with Liam. Liam was holding the baby, looking at me with a smirk that said he'd already won. They looked more like a family than we ever had. I thought you were so tough, Caleb, Liam mocked. But here you are, less than 24 hours later, crawling back. I guess you realized you can't live without Serena's billions. Serena took the baby from Liam and walked toward me. Caleb, you left in such a state yesterday. Thank God Liam was here to help me with Leo, or I don't know what I would have done. Liam stepped close, sliding an arm around her waist. It's nothing, Serena. I'd do anything for you. You know that. The Fally didn't have the energy for their little show. I turned to go upstairs, but Serena's phone rang. She shoved the crying infant into my arms. Caleb, I have an emergency board call. Watch Leo for a second. She didn't wait for an answer before disappearing into the study. As soon as she was gone, the baby's crying intensified. I looked down at the child and felt nothing. No warmth, no paternal instinct, only a deep sense of revulsion. Liam stood nearby, grinning like a hyena. Better get to soothing him, Caleb. He's the precious fruit of your and Serena's love, after all. The words made my skin crawl. You do it. We're getting divorced. This kid has nothing to do with me. Liam's smile took on a strange, doting quality. He reached out to take the baby. Fine. Since his father doesn't want him, I'll step in. But just as Liam was about to take Leo, his hands suddenly went limp. He let go. There was a sickening thud, followed by a sharp, choked-off wail. Then silence. Serena burst out of the study at the sound. She saw the baby on the hardwood floor and me standing over him. Her face went white, then transformed into a mask of pure hatred. You wanted a divorce, fine, but why take it out on our son? She screamed for an ambulance. I tried to pick up my bags to leave, but she had the estate security tackle me and force me into the car. At the hospital, the diagnosis was grim. Severe concussion and intracranial hemorrhaging. The doctor said that even if he woke up, there would likely be permanent cognitive damage. Serena stood frozen in the hallway. When she finally moved, she swung at me again, hitting me harder than the day before. Caleb Sterling, that is your own flesh and blood. How could you do that? Liam stood behind her, tears streaming down his face as he slapped himself across the cheek. It's my fault, Serena. I should have been faster. I should have protected him from him. Serena pulled Liam into a hug, her voice thick with pity. It's not your fault. It's the fault of the monster who calls himself a father. The people in the waiting room began to point and whisper. That's the guy. His wife struggled for years with IVF, and he just drops the kid because he's throwing a tantrum? He's not even human. What a piece of trash. No wonder he couldn't have kids naturally. God probably knew he'd be a deadbeat. I stood there, unaffected by the vitriol. I actually leaned back and smiled. If he's dead, it's a blessing. I never wanted to be his father anyway. The room exploded. Serena looked at me like she wanted to rip my throat out. You want a divorce? You've got it, she hissed. But before that, you're going to jail. You're going to pay for every single thing you've done. She pulled out her phone and dialed 911. The police arrived within minutes. After Liam gave a dramatic, embellished testimony about my violent outburst, a heavy pair of steel handcuffs clicked around my wrists. I gave you so many chances, Caleb, Serena said as they led me away. The divorce papers are being drafted now. You're getting nothing. In fact, I'm suing you for $10 million in damages. I looked at her and laughed. Serena, this is only the beginning. As soon as I was processed, Serena didn't even wait for the baby to leave the ICU. She raced back to the office to hold an emergency shareholders meeting. Sitting at the head of the boardroom table, Serena looked somber. I have filed criminal charges against Caleb Sterling. Given his actions, I am moving to strip his 10% stake in this company and transfer it to Liam Reed, whom I am also appointing as our new COO. The board members began to murmur, readying their votes. Serena looked around the room, satisfied as the hands began to go up in agreement. But then, the heavy double doors of the boardroom were kicked open. I walked in, wearing a bespoke three-piece charcoal suit that cost more than her car. I'm the lead investor, I said, my voice cutting through the room. And I haven't cast my vote yet. This meeting is unauthorized. Serena's jaw dropped. She nearly fell out of her leather chair. You were arrested. How are you here? I took a seat in the executive chair directly across from her. I didn't commit a crime. Of course I'm here. That's a lie, she screamed. I saw you drop Leo. He has brain damage because of you. I tapped my fingers on the mahogany table. Then you might want to get your eyes checked. You think you can buy your way out of this, she spat. Who did you bribe? Did you use that $1,000 allowance I gave you to pay off the Chicago PD? The board members started whispering. $8,000? Isn't Vance's husband supposed to be a multimillionaire? That's less than a minimum wage salary. How embarrassing. Serena's face paled. I limited your spending to test your character. Men get spoiled when they have too much money. I did it because I loved you. Liam stepped forward, his face twisting. This is a private board meeting. You're a house husband and a child abuser. Get out before I call security. Serena regained her footing. Caleb, since you're so determined to be difficult, don't blame me for being ruthless. The board has already agreed to transfer your shares to Liam. You have no power here. I smiled. Really? Because I'm pretty sure the Strategic Capital Group hasn't weighed in yet. And since they own 60% of your debt and 40% of your equity, their opinion is the only one that matters. Liam burst out laughing. Everyone knows Strategic Capital is a global conglomerate based in London. They have billions. You're just a guy who lived off his wife's scraps. You're losing it, Caleb. I didn't argue. I just looked around the room. Is that so? If I recall, half the people in this room were handpicked and vetted by me when this company was nothing but a startup in a garage. The older board members looked down, refusing to meet my eyes. That doesn't matter now, Serena said. I've had the lawyers draft the papers. You're the at-fault party in the divorce. You get nothing. This company is mine. The doors opened again. For security guards cleared the way for a tall, blond man in a sharp European suit. It was Thomas, the managing director of Strategic Capital. Serena's eyes lit up. She rushed toward him. Thomas, you're early. I didn't get a chance to send a car for you. Thomas didn't even look at her. He walked straight to me and bowed slightly. Then he shook my hand firmly. Mr. Sterling, we received your message. We came as fast as we could. I nodded. Good. Pull all funding from Vance Media. Effective immediately. I glanced at the stunned room. Wait outside for a moment, Thomas. I have some personal business to finish. Thomas bowed again and led his team back to the hallway. Serena stood there, trembling. She walked up and grabbed my lapel. What is your relationship with Thomas? Who are you, Caleb? Her phone rang before I could answer. It was her CFO. Serena, we have a crisis. Strategic Capital just pulled their credit line and recalled their investment. Our accounts are frozen. We're looking at a $100 million deficit by the end of the day. The company is going under. Serena staggered back, hitting the table. This isn't possible. You were just a guy following me around. The guy who couldn't even get me pregnant. Liam held her up, but his eyes were darting around the room, looking for an exit. Serena, he's bluffing. He's probably just a front for them. He's trying to scare you so he doesn't lose the house. The truth, Caleb. Did you plan all this? Liam barked, trying to regain his bravado. Did you find some sugar mama at Strategic Capital to help you play house? You're so desperate to leave that you'd sabotage Serena's life's work. I looked at him with genuine pity. Liam, you should worry less about my finances and more about your own freedom. Stop the act, Liam sneered. I don't know how you got out of that cell, but you dropped that baby. Everyone saw it. That's a felony. I pulled out my phone and projected a video onto the boardroom's large screen. Actually, Liam, I installed hidden 4K cameras in the nursery and the living room months ago. Let's look at the playback. The video played. It showed me carefully handing the baby to Liam. It showed Liam's hands clearly loosening. It showed the deliberate, calculated way he let the child fall while looking directly at the camera he didn't know was there. The room gasped. My God, he did it on purpose, a board member whispered. He tried to kill the baby just to frame the husband, another said, recoiling. Serena's face went from pale to a sickly green. She turned and slapped Liam so hard he hit the floor. I trusted you. That was my son. She stopped herself, swallowing the rest of the sentence. That was your son, what? Serena? I asked, my voice like a razor. She didn't answer. Liam scrambled up, holding his face. It's a deep fake. Serena, don't listen to him. He's trying to frame me. If it were a deep fake, I'd be in jail, not standing here with the managing director of your lead investor, I said. Then I threw a second folder onto the table. And here's something else. For years, Serena, you've been faking my medical records. You paid off that clinic to tell me I was sterile so that I would feel beholden to you. You wanted me to think I was a broken man so I would never leave you. The board members leaned in, reading the real reports I had brought. Wait, so Caleb was never the problem? Someone asked. He's perfectly healthy. Then why did Serena spend 3 years on IVF? Serena was shaking now, her hands clutching the edge of the table. I did it because I loved you. I wanted to make sure you stayed. No, I said, throwing the final document onto the table. You did it to cover up the truth. The paper was a DNA paternity test. Probability of paternity, Liam Reed, 99. 99%. The room went absolutely silent. Then a wave of disgust broke out. She cheated with the assistant and then forced her husband to pay for the IVF using the lover's donations? She made him think he was the father while she was carrying her assistant's kid. That's sociopathic. Serena collapsed in her chair, her eyes vacant. It's over. Everything is over. Liam, realizing the game was up, lunged at me. You think you're so smart, you piece of trash. You ruined everything. My security team caught him midair and slammed him into the floor. Liam Reed, I've already sent the video of the accident to the district attorney, I said, looking down at him. You're going away for a long time. Liam started sobbing. I'm sorry. Caleb, please, I didn't mean to drop him that hard. I just wanted you out of the picture. He's your son, Liam, I said. Whether you meant to or not, you broke him. Serena suddenly stood up, grabbing my hand, her voice a frantic whisper. Caleb, honey, please. I was wrong. I'll do anything. We can fix this. I'll fire Liam. We'll get Leo the best doctors. We could be a real family. I pulled my hand away as if she were covered in acid. A real family? You're a woman who can't have children naturally, Serena. The doctors told you that years ago, didn't they? That's why you used Liam. You didn't want a family. You wanted an heir to secure your position. Serena's eyes widened. I don't want a woman who built a life on lies, I said. Sign the papers. I threw the divorce settlement on the table. I'm not signing, she screamed. If I don't sign, we're still married. You're the one with the billions now. I'll take half. I tilted my head. Actually, all my assets are held in a blind trust established by my mother before we were ever married. In this state, that's non-marital property. But the debt of this company? That's in your name. And since we're still married, maybe I should let the creditors know where you live. I walked out of the room without looking back. By that evening, the story was trending all over social media. The power couple of Chicago had been exposed as a sham. Serena Vance was the most hated woman in the city. I sat in my library, staring at the fire, when my friend and lawyer, Marcus, walked in. You're not worried she'll fight the divorce to get to your money? Marcus asked. I shook my head. When she wanted to cut me out, she moved all her personal assets into the company to shield them from me. Now the company is under a mountain of debt. She has nothing left but the house, and that's collateral for her latest loan. Just then my phone buzzed. A text from Serena. I won't sign. I have $100 million in debt. As long as we're married, that's our debt. See you in court. The final settlement, she thought she had moved left. I invited her to a coffee shop near the office to discuss terms. When I arrived, Serena was unrecognizable. She was wearing a hood and sunglasses, trying to hide from the paparazzi. Caleb, I know you still love me, she pleaded. Just help me pay off the debt, and I'll go away. I'll sign whatever you want. I placed the papers on the table. Sign these, and I will personally pay off 50% of the company's outstanding liabilities. You'll be broke, but you won't be in prison for fraud. She looked at the pen, then at me. With a trembling hand, she signed her name. I took the papers and stood up. Goodbye, Serena. Caleb, wait. We could try again in a few years. I didn't even answer. I walked out, handed the papers to Marcus, and told him to file them immediately. I also handed him a separate document, an asset liquidation agreement she had unknowingly signed in the fine print of the settlement. A month later, Serena was being evicted. She stood on the sidewalk as movers hauled her designer furniture out of the Lakeshore Drive penthouse. She was holding Leo, who stared blankly at the sky, unresponsive to the noise around him. "You can't do this," she screamed at the foreman. "My husband will pay for this." "Lady, your ex-husband is the one who bought the debt," the man said, not even looking up. "Move aside." Serena wandered the streets, clutching the child. She saw a Maybach pull up to a curb nearby. Her eyes lit up, thinking it was me. But the man who stepped out wasn't me. It was Liam. He looked different. He was wearing an expensive suit and had a spray tan. A wealthy, older woman stepped out after him, and he leaned down to kiss her cheek with a sickeningly sweet smile. Serena lost it. She lunged at him. "Liam, you bastard. Look at what you did to us." Liam looked at her like she was a stray dog. "Get away from me, lady. I don't know you." "That's your son," she screamed, holding up the limp child. "He needs help. You have to pay." Liam sneered. "I told you before, Serena. You wanted that kid, not me. I'm starting a new life. Don't ruin it." He shoved her aside. Serena fell onto the pavement, the baby crying that thin, hollow cry that never seemed to stop. Liam didn't look back as he drove away with his new benefactor. That night, the wind was howling off Lake Michigan. Serena, driven to the brink of insanity, used an old key to slip into a suburban mansion, the one Liam's new girlfriend owned. Inside, the sounds of music and laughter drifted from the master suite. Serena didn't hesitate. She had a gallon of gasoline and a lighter. When the police arrived, the house was a towering inferno. The only thing they found was a baby, left in a bundle of blankets in the bushes far from the heat. He wasn't crying. He wasn't laughing. He was just staring at the flickering orange light of the fire. I received the news as I was boarding a private jet. I had a $10 billion deal to sign in Singapore. I looked at the photo of the burning house on my screen for a second, then hit the power button. "Ready to go, Mr. Sterling?" the pilot asked. "Yes," I said, leaning back into the leather seat. "Everything is exactly where it belongs." Story complete.